First, let me just give a quick intro for those of you that don't know me. My name is Tara. I am a Monday.com certified partner. I run a company called Simpleday, where we help companies do implementations of Monday.com. We also have some templates that we sell and a few other things that I will tell you about a little bit later. I've been working with Monday.com since 2015. So as you can guess, I'm like a total addict and obsessed with the platform. I just think it's really fun and I really enjoy it. I recently was on a call with someone, I think yesterday or a day before, that was kind of in my same world, being a total Monday addict. So it was nice to have that. So I see Muhammad is also an addict like me. So awesome. Keep it up. So one of the things that I've noticed that people come to me again and again and again is this high level, low level board structure. So what I wanted to do in this webinar was really go through it, explain what it is, go through it step by step, so that way you guys understand it. I'm going to teach you how to set it up. Then we're going to talk about ways that you can automate this high level, low level structure. There's different things that you can do to automate it. And we'll take it from there. Before we get started, I just want to make sure it's very clear what this high level, low level structure is. Monday always talks about it. If you read any of their support articles or you watch some of their videos, it's something that they always talk about. And I see that it's really important for a lot of companies when they're using Monday.com. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to share my screen. One sec. Okay. So I am now sharing. I hope everyone can see. If someone could just give me like a thumbs up, because I can't see you guys at the same time. Okay, cool. So what actually sharing a product. It's a Monday.com product called Work Canvas. If you guys are familiar with Miro, it's kind of the same thing, but it connects to your Monday.com account, which is actually really, really cool. So happy to discuss it later if anyone's interested in it. So I'm going to use this tool just to show you exactly what a high level, low level structure means. So that way we're clear that we're all on the same page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with any, I'm really going to start with any template. I'm just going to use this template here because it does exactly what we want. Okay, hold on. Let me just zoom out a little bit. And I'm just going to delete this. One sec. Delete. Okay. So as you can see here in this template is actually, okay, so let me move it. I hope everyone can see it. But what this template is it's basically an organization chart. So here you can see we have Sam, who's the CEO, and then we have two people under him. Okay. But the concept is that we have one thing on top, and then we have two people that are under him. A high level, low level structure is literally the exact same. We have one board. So instead of this being Sam, a person, I'm going to change this to a board. So we have one board within Monday.com, and then we have boards under it that link up to that board. So a great example of this would be, let's say, a company that builds websites. So a company that builds websites, sometimes they have, let's say, a lot of web building. So they have their one website, they have one board of like all the projects, and then each of these boards would actually be their individual website that they're building. That's one example of this. Another example I've done is in construction. So you have the top level board, the high level board, which right now is Sam, but ignore Sam. It's just the concept of a high level board, would be all of the houses that you're building. And then the low level boards would be each individual project that you're working on. So you can imagine any company could use this structure. It doesn't really matter what your company does, but your company could use this structure, because if you think about it, on a high level, management, leadership, whoever it is, your board of directors, whoever it is, they probably want to see things on the macro level. They want to see, where are the projects holdings? When are the projects due? Like timelines, but they don't really care about the lower level, like the individual tasks. Those are things that the people that are actually doing them, that's obviously like usually the employees in the company who are, let's say, the project managers, they may need to see both, but the project managers, they also need to see the specific tasks. So within a company, this structure is something that's really, really helpful because you have the high level boards, which on one hand are for management or the leadership, or even project managers, where you can see all the projects, everything you're doing. Doesn't matter if it's a project, doesn't matter if it's building websites, building a house, or take, any other example that your company does. You could see how you can have these like big overarching projects that you need to track things like budgets, status of the task, progress of the tasks, things like that. And then we go to the lower level boards. Now, there's different ways to structure the lower level boards, which we'll get to. But essentially what the lower level boards are just the tasks. Those are actually the things that you need to do. So we have higher level is managing the projects, and lower level are the individual tasks that you need to do. Now, the beauty of Monday is that you want to be able to connect these boards, because I want to have a high level board that connects to a low level board, right? Because you don't want this disjointed setup in your company. Like you don't want a situation where you have your project managers on one board, and then they're doing everything on the low level boards, and then they have to go to the high level boards to either update your leadership team or the managers or whoever it is. Like you want everything to be within one place. So that's really the beauty of the high level, low level boards. You have the ability of like viewing things in a macro view and a micro view. So depending on what's important for your role to look at, you can see this information in different ways on different boards. And then obviously you can build dashboards off of this. So you can build dashboards off a high level board, and you can build dashboards off low level boards. I hope that was clear. If anyone had any questions about that, I'm going to take a 30-second break. If anyone had any questions about this, because if you don't understand this, then the rest of the, then moving forward won't make so much sense. So I just want to make sure, thank you for the thumbs up, Nancy and Connie. I just want to make sure that this concept is clear, the high level board and the low level board. So any questions? Okay, cool. I'm just going to take that as a no. Hope that was clear. Okay. So now that you guys really understand what your high level board and your low level board is, and again, I really hope that you can translate that into whatever company you are in. I've done this structure for so many different kinds of companies, like consulting companies, marketing company, website companies, construction, painting companies, manufacturing, production. I'm trying to think what else, e-commerce. Like there's companies that can use this setup. So again, it doesn't really matter what vertical you're in. Anyone can use this setup. So now that we understand what this is, I want to discuss some basic terms within Monday that you need in order to set up a high level, low level board structure. I'd love if everyone could just add in the chat quickly, like what your understanding is of Monday. If you're like a basic user, more intermediate, more advanced, if you guys could just let me know, that would be great, just so I have a sense of who's here. If you guys don't mind, I'll just give you a second to do that. Anyone? Can I assume everyone's just a basic user except for Muhammad, who gave me the thumbs up? Let's see. Awesome. Okay. So, great. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, can everyone see my screen now? I'm on the high level, low level board. Let me just share this. Okay, cool. Okay. So now I'm in my Monday account, and we're going to go through a lot of different boards. But I'm actually going to start from scratch with a new board. The first thing that we're just going to do is just to show you the concepts of things that I need you to make sure that you know. And then we're going to go through again, step by step, exactly how to set up a high level, low level board. So right now, this is just a test board. There's a few things that you need to know. Within a board, I hope everyone here is familiar with a board. We have columns in our board. So the first thing that you have to add in order to have a high level, low level structure that's connected, again, if you don't want them to be connected, you don't need to have this, what I'm going to talk about in a minute. But if you want it to be connected, you have to have a connected board column. So I am just going to add a connected board column. I'm not even gonna set it up. I'm gonna talk about it later, but I just want to show you, this is a connected board column. I'm actually gonna go back to my original example because it's already set up. So you can see here, this is a connected board column. So the way that you know it's a connected board column is it has this underline. So see this color? So this is telling me that this column is a connected board. What that means, it's connecting one board to the other board. If you click on this information, the I, it's telling me here that it's connected from two boards. And we'll get into how you can connect to different boards and all that. Don't worry, I'm just explaining the concepts of the important things that you need to know to have this set up. So the first thing that we have is a connected board column, okay? The second thing that we have is a mirror column. So what we have here is this first column is the connected board, and any other column after that you see this green line under is a mirror column. What a mirror column is it's literally mirroring what you have on the one board to another board. So that column doesn't really like live on this board. You can see it like a mirror, you can see it, but it doesn't actually live on this board. So you have these mirror columns that can pull in whatever data you want from the low level boards. They don't actually live here, but they're pulling in columns from the other boards. Again, if you have a number of low level boards and mirror columns, you will see that each connected board will have a different color under it. So that's how you know that it's a connected board and it's not like what I call a local board on your specific board. Okay, so those are essentially the two columns. I know it seems like pretty simplistic, but those are the two columns that you need for this high level, low level structure. And the truth is, you may not even need a mirror column because not everyone wants to mirror everything. You need a connected board column, and we're going to go into the details exactly about how to set this up. Any questions about column types, these two column types? Okay. The next thing that I want to introduce you to is something called the item default value. Now, if I click on these three dots, and then I click on this little pen, it says default item values. Basically what this is it gives you the option to have one of the fields in the board show up as soon as you add a new item. So let's just say I would set my item default value as not started, right? And I just hit save changes. So if I'm going to go here and just do a test, so you can see that automatically this came up as not started. So the item default value is every single item that you add to this board. You can pick a value that you want it to always be entered as soon as you create that item. And the reason that this is really important is because later when we talk about ways that you can automate the connection of the high level to low level board, this is one thing that you can do this is one of the things that we can do to automate it. And again, I'll show you how to do that as we get there. So just to summarize, the three most important things: connected board columns, mirror columns, and item default values. Now, before we jump into the next part of this webinar where we talk about exactly how to set up this high level, low level structure, I just want to point out that it's important to realize what your Monday.com plan is, because that's going to affect the amount of connections that you can have. So I personally don't recommend anyone having anything below. Because if you're serious about running your business on Monday.com, you need to have dashboards and you need to have formula columns. So that's why I recommend everyone at least has Pro. If you're on the Pro account, so I'm going to start there. If you're on the Pro account, you can connect one board, like one high level board, to 20 low level boards. Okay, so that means, let's go back to our example of a website company. If they are building websites, if they have one high level board, which lists all their websites that they're building, and they have 20 projects, great. Each project is a board to the high level board. Now, let's say that someone has 70 projects that you're managing. A construction company has 70 projects that they're managing. On the Pro version of Monday.com, you're not going to be able to connect 70 boards to that high level board. So it's really important when you're setting up your structure for Monday to think about this. On the enterprise plan, you're allowed to have 60 boards connect to one board. So I see this, I would say about 95% of the time of new users within Monday.com, when they set up Monday by themselves, they build out a board per project, per client, per process, whatever it is. And they don't necessarily need it, but everyone tries to separate things so much. And then they want to build the structure of the high level, low level structure. And then they're in trouble because they're like, well, we have 25 clients. So we built out a 25 clients low level boards. Each client has their own board, but we're on the pro plan and we can't connect them all to the high level board. So it's really important to see what your limits are within Monday.com, depending what plan you're on. If you do need to connect a lot of boards, then I would recommend looking into the enterprise version. There are ways around this. And we could talk about them, but just keep that in mind when you're setting up your structure for Monday.com, because a lot of times people get all the way to the end. They're like, okay, we set everything up. And then they're like, wait, I can't connect all my boards. What am I supposed to do? So it's really important to keep that in mind. Any questions about just basic definitions that we just covered? Okay, moving on. Okay. Okay, moving on, I am going to now, we're going to actually talk about how you can actually set up a high level, low level board. Now, the first thing that you need to take into account, and I'm going to start from scratch with this because I really want to walk through every single step with you. The first thing that you need to think about is your naming convention. I am very big on naming conventions, which is like, what do you call things within Monday.com? So come up with your naming convention. Is your high level board just called high level? Is it called overview? Is it called all projects, all tasks? Whatever makes sense within your company, all websites, whatever it is, come up with a naming convention, because I'm telling you all the time, you're going to be saying like on this board, this, and that board, that. Like you need a name. So it's important to think about that before you get started. So what we're going to do is we're actually starting from scratch here, and I'm going to walk through it. You can see I'm building a new board. I'm just going to call it new board. And for the sake of the high level board, and I'm going to hit create board. Okay, so now we have our high level board. It is a very basic board. There's nothing, this is just a template. Now I'm going to create another board, which is going to be a low level board. And I'm going to hit create board. So we have our high level and our low level boards. Now, if I want to connect them so that way the information can flow between boards, like I said, we need to have a connected board column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the columns and just do plus, and I'm going to look for connected boards. Okay, let me just make my screen a drop smaller so you guys could see it. Okay, basically what happens is it's telling me to select boards. So here I'm just going to, I'm assuming it's this one, this low level board, one sec. And I'm going to hit connect boards. Now, before I hit connect boards, I should actually say this because this is like the most important thing. If you see here, there's something called a two-way connection. And if you don't choose this now, you cannot fix it later. So it's really, really important before you connect that blue button, and I almost did it, and people do it all the time, before you hit that button, to think about if you want a two-way connection or a one-way connection. So let me explain what that means. A two-way connection means that I can see this information on both boards. So if I would choose create a two-way connection right here, that means I'm going to be able to see the information on the high level board and the low level board. I can see it on both boards. If I don't click this, I'm going to only see it on one board. So that would mean in this case, I can only see the column on the high level board. Sometimes you need a one-way connection and sometimes you need a two-way connection. So it's really important to think about that before you create this column, because this is not something that you can change later. So once you've created it, you're stuck with it. So if you need to change it, you're going to have to rebuild the column, which like you see is like 1 minute. It's not a big deal. But if you already have connected items, it could get a little bit annoying. So take the time to think about if you want a two-way connection or a one-way connection before you start. So here I'm going to do a two-way connection. Sorry. Okay, I'm not sure why this is being buggy, so I'm not going to do this. let's just skip to one of our boards that are already built. Sorry about that. Now, if you look here, so here I'm on this high level board. If I click here on my settings and customize boards, so if you see, if I click connect more boards, I just want to try and show you where it says it. See, it shows me this is already a two-way connection. So I've already created that, but as you could see, I can't edit it. So pretend it was working how I wanted to. And of course, or a live demo, it never works properly. So what would happen is you would click this two-way connection, and it's actually going to create a column on this board because it's a two-way connection and on my lower level board. So if it would have worked properly over here on this high level, low level board, it would have had a connected board column here. Try it again to see if it works. And it would also have create a connected board column on my low level board. Let's see if it's going to let me do it. I'll really try one more time. Sorry about that. Let's try. No, I don't know what's going on. You know what? One trick that sometimes I've learned is that if you go to the second group, for some reason, things that don't work on the top group sometimes work. So let's just try that. And if not, we'll just continue on. Oh, nope. Okay. Oh, well, I'm striking out today. Okay. So like I said, had we added that column, had we been able to push on that blue button, then it would have connected. And because it was a two-way, it would have created a column on both boards. It then gives you the option to create a mirror column. You can also go back and create a mirror column later. So here you could see I already have, remember we see this green line, these two mirror columns. So what I can do is I can go to settings, customize connect boards, and I can add a mirror column. So as you see here, sorry, another column was added. You can see I have two status columns, and if I want, I can edit what this is. So I can change this. And let's just say I want to make it the person column. So here you can see that the person column is now mirrored. So essentially, just to review what I did, I added a connected board column, decided if it's one way or two, and then I can add mirror columns. Now you can always add mirror columns later if you want. I can either click on these dots, settings, customize connect boards, and then add more, add a mirror column, or I actually can just do this, these three dots, and I could just hit duplicate column, and I duplicate it. And then if I want, I can change the settings. So here I go to settings, customize, and then I can just X this out. Now this is connected to two boards here. So I need to choose what column I want to set. It's kind of nice that if I click date here, sometimes it will automatically, it will automatically pull it for in the second board that is connected. It is important to note that in one column, I can only pull in one kind of data. So like in this mirror column, that's a people column. I can't have this item be, from board, let's say low level number one, have a people column, and then this a date column. It needs to be the same kind of columns in all the boards. So that way you're pulling the data. Okay. So that is the mirror column. Now, like I said in the beginning, depending on your plan, there's different allowances for the amount of boards that you want to connect to or you can connect to. Again, if I click on the three dots, settings, customize, so you can see these are the boards that I'm connected to. I can disconnect it, and you'll see it'll give me like, if I disconnect it, it'll tell you it's disconnected. Are you sure you want to? So I can disconnect it. Or if I want, I can also add a new column. So if I go to customize, I can scroll down and I can add another board. So it's showing me on top which boards are already here. And then I can add, here I can add, let's say that second level board that we set up. I can check that and then do connected boards, which it seems to not be working, but normally this works. So basically we've gone through setting up a board, seeing the connected board column, seeing the mirror columns. You can add the mirror columns in later, or you can do them when you're setting up the boards. And that's really it, how to set up these connected board columns. I know it's like, I think people get stuck on this concept because it's complicated sometimes, especially when you want to connect a lot of different boards. It does get complicated, but that's it. You just need that one connected board column, and then think about which ways you want to mirror. Now, I've done a lot of interesting setups where people want to mirror things back and forth. So sometimes you're mirroring from the low level board to the high level board, like let's say status or progress. And sometimes you're mirroring the other way. Like sometimes you want to mirror from the high level board to the low level board. Okay, so what you have is here you can see these are all my columns that I'm mirroring from the low level board. And if I go here, so now these are all my columns from the high level board. Okay, so it's actually only this column. So I didn't actually, in this example, I didn't even mirror, but if I wanted to mirror, I could just click on this, customize boards, add a mirror column. It usually automatically goes to status, but you can obviously change that. Let's just say I want to pull in the date here. So now this is a mirror column. You'll see in a second, see it has the green line under it. So that is a mirror column from my high level board. So sometimes you have these interesting cases where you need to see different information, but you don't want things twice. So that way you kind of have like your source of truth. Like let's say your dates in your high level board is your source of truth. So you can pull it into your low level board. I'm not going to go into it in this webinar, but you should just know that mirroring is not as easy to use in automations. There are some automations you can use, some you can't. So just again, that's something to keep in mind when you're doing all of this mirroring. What things you can keep, what things you can use for automations, and what you can't. Just as way of example, like I mirrored this date here on the low level board. So let's say that I want to have an automation when date arrives, notify a person. So because this is a mirror column on this board, I can't do that on this board. So there's ways around that, and that's not really the topic of this webinar, but I just want to let you know that mirroring columns is great to pull in data. There are certain things that you can use within automations, but you can't necessarily use everything in automations. Now, since we set this up, the manual way to do this, I'm just going to, let's say, add a new task. I don't know, let's just say I'm going to create a letterhead, right? That's my example here. And if I want to connect it to my high level board, it actually has automations on it, I'm sorry. But I'm going to delete that for 1 second. If I want to connect it to my high level board, I would just hit plus. And here you can see I have my high level board, and I choose this is part of project 1. And now it's connected. So I see project 1 here. And if I go to my high level board, so project 1, remember we have all these tasks and I just added a 4th. If you click on it, it's taking a minute to load, but if you hover over it so you can see create letterhead is there. So that was how I manually connected the high level to low level boards. And I can do it from this end also. Let's just say I want to connect it from here. So I can choose a task. I'm going to unchoose hire florist, and then I can choose it again. And you can see that I'm able to connect it from both boards. So that's basically how you set it up. It's pretty straightforward. Again, you just need to keep in mind connection limits. You need to keep in mind the structure, how many boards you have. That's the basic concept. Any questions about how to set up a high level, low level board structure?
Yes, Tara, there is a question in the question field from Nancy. So if you can just open the question. So she's asking, she has a project with 800 web pages, and she wants to know, should she perhaps mirror with one-way view for some of the summary columns in the low-level board? I don't know if you see the question in the questions, right?
Yeah, I can't see the whole thing, but I see part of it. So if you have 800 project web pages, so there's a few things here. I'm assuming the 800 page project is on one board, and then you're saying you want to connect it to the high level board. There is another limitation that I didn't speak about. You can only connect 750 items per column. So like if I have project A for this 800 pages, I can't connect all 800 pages back to the high level of project A because you can only have 750 connections. So what I may do in this situation is maybe divide the web pages into different sections. I used to help design websites. So, like you could design it like these are the home page, this is the home page, and then all these pages that are associated within that category. These are the about pages or whatever it is. You're not going to be able to, I mean, I know you can't connect 800 pages, so you may need to think of a different structure for that. Does that answer your question, Nancy? Okay, you'll let us know. Yes. Okay, awesome. Happy to discuss this offline with you also. Any other questions about the high level, low level structure, how to do it?
Yes, Mary wrote a question. I seem to have some items not connected, and it may be due to some sub-items. Can you talk about how the sub-items are connected?
Okay, sure. So sometimes I'm not sure, some items are not connected. Sometimes, just something I should mention, um, if one person is not on your boards, like I'll just give you an example. So here I'm on this high level board, right? And I'm pulling in information from the low level board. Let's just say that Rosa is not subscribe to the low level board, she won't be able to see this column. So it could be, I'm not sure if it's not connected or you can't see it. Sometimes people can't see it because you're not actually connected to that board. You're not actually, subscribed to that board. So someone who's seeing all of these mirror columns and connected board columns, they need to be subscribed to both boards. So that's just like a really important thing to notice. In terms of sub items are unfortunately kinds of annoying with high level, low level boards. There's not really any automations, which we'll get into in the next few minutes in terms of like how to connect them. You normally can connect a sub item to an item level, like on another board. So, and you can't connect sub item to sub item. So it's a little bit complicated depending on your setup. Um, Most times, honestly, when I'm dealing with sub items and connections, we usually use a third party tool called Make because it has a lot more flexibility than Monday has. I know Monday's working on improving the automations for sub items, and I hope that they'll work on the connections also. But right now, that functionality is just not there. Um, and I see another question about increasing the level of boards you can connect. I can't see the rest after currently we. Um, I don't know if Monday's looking to increase this. I know that on enterprise, they're at 60. They may increase it in the future. You would have to double check their roadmap. I really hope that they increase it. But I'm not sure if there's a plan right now to increase it. Mary, I hope I answered your question. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, cool. So what I want to talk about now is I want to talk about ways to automate high level, low level boards. Now, depending on your structure, there's basically three different ways that you can automate the connection of these boards. Obviously, if someone just connects them manually, how I did, if someone just goes in and adds an item, that's not automated, but you can always do that manually and make sure things are connected. So that's like the first manual, just to make sure you got that down. Now we're going to talk about ways that we can automate it. Now, the first way that you can automate things, and I am going to look at these employee onboarding boards. So what I have here is I have a human resources board, which is basically potential employees. Okay, so these are all my potential employees. And now when anyone starts working with me, basically I have a whole onboarding process. So I have a board for onboarding. You can see here this employee onboarding. I have to sign a contract with them. I have to set up their email, set up their Monday account, set up their Zoho password account, update their emergency details, buy them a laptop, whatever things I need to do. Now, this is consistent every single hire that I make. So therefore, we have one onboarding board. So we make sure that we don't lose the tasks. Like we don't want to forget about doing something. So we have one board. It's temporary. Like when someone is hired, they go through this board, they do everything, and then we move on. We don't actually use the board again. But what we have is we have a template here. So first of all, I just want to show you a template is a board that you can continuously use. If you change the template, any future boards that you use, that you have, will be updated any past boards in the template will not be updated. So what I can do is if I just hit plus here and I click on choose from templates, so you can see here that I have templates created in your account, and I probably have a bunch of templates. You can see all these different templates. I can choose a template and it will create this exact board. So the first thing is I've made this board as a template, and you can see that it has this note here. If you want to make a board a template, you just click these three dots and and here there's an option save as template, or you could do it in the top right corner. Now, what I did for this process, and this is the same thing as a high level, low level board, because on the high level board, we have all of our potential employees, right? Or people that I've hired. So here I have a hired group. And then my low level boards are all of the onboarding tasks that I need to do them. Again, same structure, high level, low level. So what I did is there's an automation that says, and I did it based on status. So when status changes to hired, sorry, not that one. When status changes to hired, create a board from template. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm creating a number of low-level boards that are going to look exactly the same. This is not connecting them. I just want to make sure that's very clear. This is just creating a board from template so that way you have this structure. So here I have my trigger. And again, I chose create board from template, and what I decided to do was pull in, like I just says, onboarding with the name of the person. And if you want, you can edit like where it goes in terms of the workspace, in terms of the folder. You can choose owners. There's like a whole bunch that you can do. So what I do in this process is, let's take Samantha. Let's just say I really like Samantha. I need a new CMO. I hired her. So I changed this to hired. Now, as soon as she's hired, she's going to move down to my hired group. And we're going to see on the left, see how this board was created. So I have a new board called Onboarding Samantha Thomas. And I have all of these tasks. Okay, so I have everything here that I need her to do. Now, this board, like I said, is not connected to the high level board. So I don't even think we have the column. So what I would do if I want to have that connection is, again, I'm going to go back and add the connected board column. I hope that it's going to work this time. And select boards. And here I'm going to do Samantha. I'm going to do create. Okay, it's not letting me do the two-way, so I'm only going to do one way. Come on. I don't even see why. It's not letting me connect. I don't know why. I'm really sorry. I'll have to tell Monday about this. But you see, it's not letting me connect. Okay, pretend that there's a connected board column here. Basically, if there's a connected board column here, what I can do is then I can fill in all of the information so that way I can see what's Samantha. No, sorry, I was trying again. I can fill in the information so that way I can see Samantha's progress. Now, what I like to do on something like this, and I'm going to show you on this high level, low level board that I have here. I think it's on this board. Okay, so you can see that I have this progress tracking column. This is like one of my favorite columns that no one knows about. If anyone's interested, you could just write in the chat and Rosa can send you, we have a video on this on YouTube. But what I have here is I've created a progress tracking column on this low level board. So again, it would have been on Samantha's board, right? And once they're connected, so you can see that this is the column where once she does something, it's marked as 100%. So on the low level board, it doesn't really matter. But as soon as we go to the high level board, you can see we had this column. See, remember that it's at 20%. So what I would do, had it let me do it, in this case, I would have on Samantha's board, I would add the progress tracking, and then I would have mirrored those columns to the high level board. So essentially what I have is I have a board, my HR board, where I can see all of my employees that are on the onboarding process, and then I can see the progress of how they're going through on all the onboarding process. That's basically the first way that you can automate everything. The second way that you can automate everything is with item default values. Now I am going to go to this board, a project overview board. Again, this is the same concept. We have an overview called projects, and then we have each board is a different project, and you can see that they are mirrored here. Okay, again, I actually have the progress column, so you can see that again. Now, what I do here is I can do something called an item default value, which we reviewed that concept again, but again, it's every single time an item is created, it sets a certain value. So right here, I'm going to set the value in my low level, hold on. Why is it? 1 second. In my low level, in the connected board column, I'm trying to figure out why it's, hold on. This is supposed to, 1 sec, sorry. It's supposed to link to the overview column. And now when I go here, oh, sorry. I'm not sure what happened there. If I go to link to overview, so what I want to do is here is my projects, right? So this is always project one. So if I hit save changes, what that means is any task that I'm going to add on this board is all connected to item one, right? So I made an item default value. So if I do another test two, you're going to see when a new item is created, it's going to automatically connect to project number one in a minute, because today, Monday's not being nice to me. Here, connected to project number one. So I've one-time setup of setting up this item default value, and it automatically connects to your high level board. So if we go back to our high level board, you could see project number one. I just added, you can see I have all these tasks connected, but I just added test two. It automatically connected. So if you have a setup where you have a lot of low level boards that are connected to one high level board, you can set the item default value and it will automatically connect those boards together because I'm choosing which task on my high level board I want to automatically connect as soon as an item is created on my low level board. Okay, those are the two simpler ways to connect boards. We're going to get into something a bit more complicated. So any questions? I'm going to just take a quick drink of water. Any questions before we move on? Okay. The last thing that I want to talk about is something called match automations. Now, Monday has 3 automations within the automation center that are called match automations. What they do is they essentially say, when you have an item on one board and you have an item on another board that match exactly, connect them. Okay, so this is like exactly what we want to do. If you want to connect project one and project one, you know, like on a high level and low level board, the task for project one, Monday can automatically connect them. First, it's important to keep in mind that there's only certain columns that they can do the match automations for. So status column, number column, text column, not a dropdown, the item name, and a people column. I could be I'm missing one, but I'm pretty sure those are all the columns for right now. So you just have to keep in mind which columns you want to match. Now, like I said, there's 3 different kinds of match automations. I'm going to go through them. I see Rosa just posted a link to our YouTube video, YouTube channel. This concept is like a little confusing. So there is a video on this as well if you want to review the different match automations. And I'm going to talk about a masterclass after this that also goes through them in a lot more detail. But what we have here is I'm going to start with match automation number 1. So what we have is we have a high level board. This board called match 1 is a high level board. Okay, and here we have the tasks for client 1, and here we have the second board. Okay, actually, sorry, match 2 is the high level board because here you have client 1, client 2, client 3. And what we want to do is we want to say whenever this client changes to a certain client, you could see 1, 2, or 3, we want to automatically connect it over here. So if you go to your automation center and if you search for the word match, sorry, in the templates, sorry about that. When it loads. Okay. If you search for the word match, you are going to see 3 automations. So here we have 1, 2, 3. The first 2 are based on a status changing, and the third one, that is now disappearing on me, is based on when an item is created. Okay. So the difference between number 1 and 2, number 1 is when the column changes, connect those 2 columns. The automation number 2 is when one column changes, connect another 2 columns. Because remember, you need to match them. So here we're going to start with automation number 1. And I added that automation before. And basically we have when client, which is our status column, changes, right? We're going to connect, and you need to choose which column you want. Again, you have to have a connected board column. And we're going to say when name matches name in number 2 by adding a new matched item. Now, there are different options. You can add a new match or you can overwrite existing. So let me show you what happens once we do this. So here I'm on match number 1. And see this connected board column is empty. If I change this to say client number 2, what's going to happen is it's automatically going to connect it. See, it automatically connected it to client 2. So I change this column, client 2, which matches client 2 on my board over here, and it automatically connected them. That's the first match automation. The second match automation is, and I'm going to leave it like this. Okay. The second match automation is when one column changes. So in this case, the people column is going to change, and then it's going to match the client. So like the trigger is a different column changing, and then it's using this to match. So I'll just show you how I do it. If I add myself as a person here, so now you can see it's going to go to find client 2, and it connected it over there. This is if you go to the templates, you start match, it's for the second one. And this is when, again, I'll just go through how I did it quickly. When the people changes, I'm going to connect. Here's my connected board column. I'm going to choose which column needs to match which item, either a name or a status. It could be whatever you want by adding a new matching column. So those are the match number 1. Again, both of them, match number 1, match number 2, are both based on statuses changing. But one is when the status changes, match that column. And one is when a different column changes, match it. Now I'm going to go to the third one, which is basically when an item is created. So in order to do this, I want to say when an item is created, match client and connect it. Now, I can't do it by just adding an item on the board. I'll just show you, because when I created this item, client wasn't entered. So nothing, so it's not going to work. So what I have to do just to test this is I have a form. So here I'm just going to do test 1. Okay, and then my client is client number 2. I'm going to hit submit. And now when we go back to our board, so we have test 1, see it came in as in client number 2, and it automatically connected. Again, I went through the to the templates and I added the third one when an item is created. So this is really good just when you're have a form to fill something out, or if you want to match the item name to something else. If you're matching a different column, you either need to use like the status, the first 2 automations, or fill it out with a form. Because remember, if you're filling it in manually right away, it's not going to show up. Okay, any questions about match automations? I know they're complicated and there's a lot of details, and it does take time to figure out like which one you need depending on your use case. But match automations, again, allow you to connect one board to another board. Any last questions about that? An answer? Nope. Okay, awesome. So now that I think we covered most of the topics about using these high level, low level boards, I hope that you've found different ways that you can use them within your company. I do want to tell you that we offer a master class. It's pretty short. It's about 45 minutes, a master class. It goes into a lot more detail that we went into today, explains step by step how to do all of the match automations. We are offering a 40% discount, so you will get an email with a code for that if you're interested in it. And one of the advantages, besides getting more in-depth information about this concept, the high level, low level class, is we also have templates that are part of this master class. And I see that Rosa just added a link to it, so feel free to check out the link. The coach is there automatically. We have templates of a number of different use cases that you would use. So one is like the high level, the HR onboarding / hiring boards that I showed you. One is about employee capacity, a high level, low level board for that. The projects board, like a high level, low level board for that. There's templates. One is a wedding planner to track events. So there's a few different templates that come as part of this masterclass. So if it's something that you feel that you need more help with, I highly recommend you check it out. And again, for a limited time, you also get 40% off the masterclass. And with that, I will open up. I think I want to just be respectful of everyone's time. We have a couple of minutes left. If anyone had any last minute questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yes, Tara, there is a question from Mary in a question thread. I'm in
Okay.
construction, so my high level is all current projects and low level is each project. How can my project manager go to each low level board directly from the high level board?
So from the high level board, you're not going to be able to see you're not going to be able to see every single, like the details of every single task on the low level boards. But what you can do, let me just share my screen again, one sec. Um, Hold on, sorry. Okay, so we're back here and let's just look at our projects one. So if you're on the overview board, what you can do is you can click here and this one you're going to see all of the tasks, all of the details of that specific task, like from each project. But unfortunately, you can't see it for the other items. So the really like if something's important that you need to see like a summary of, I would do the mirror columns. If not, unfortunately, you're going to need to go to the low level boards. What some people do is that they do use a dashboard to connect I'll just show you really quickly. They have a dashboard. So if I just do this and I can create a dashboard, and what I can do is I can connect it. Let's hope that it's working to, let's say, project one. And let's just do one more. Project two. Okay, so here I've connected a couple of boards. Doesn't really matter what they are. And then what you can do is you can add a widget. And if you search, sorry, more widgets. If you search for table, you can add a table view. And what a table view will allow you to do is you can see all of your boards and you can see all of the details of them. So once it loads, it'll show all of the tasks from all of the boards. So you can have like a view like this of everything together. If you want, you can make it bigger. You can choose which columns you want, or you can have like a table. You can have one for project one for project two. And then again, if you're on the pro plan, you're limited to 10. If you're on the enterprise, you're limited to 20. But then you can have them here, and then your project manager for construction can go through that board and see all the projects in one place. Does that answer your question, Mary? I hope so.
Tara Jean suggested you can make a link column.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea also. Thank you, Gina. Yeah, very good idea. I've done that before also. You can make a link column to have a link to all of the other boards. So then technically they can click on the link column and it'll open the board in another tab. Basically, yeah, thank you, Gina, for reminding me about that. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, I guess we'll finish a few minutes early. And again, I just want to say thank you for everyone who has joined our webinar today. I really appreciate it. It was great meeting all of you, and good luck building out your high level, low level structure. And I hope this was helpful. Have a great day.
Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and remember to subscribe to receive tips and tricks on how to use Monday.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.